Yeah. I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. Ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real. I'm feeling so ruthless.
Fire team, attack!
Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's question time. How are we all doing in the chat? I can see some familiar faces. We've got Angus, Chris Burke, Peter, not even try to pronounce that one. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? If this is your first time joining us for question time, what we do is we take questions from the audience and about game development, Unreal, whatever you really want to, totally up to you. And we'll answer as many as we can within the hour or so that we are doing this for. This has all been recorded, so if you do miss out or do have to jump off early, you can catch the recording later. Don't worry. Now, the way you answer questions is just put the question into chat, and I'll try and catch it and answer it if I can. If I do miss it, don't worry, just put it back into chat after a certain amount of time. Try not to spam the chat if you can help it, and it will be good. So, let us know how many questions we've got in the audience. Throw in your questions, and we'll get started and answering them. By the way, if you haven't yet done so, wishlist Fireteam over on Steam. I should have put a link up, but I didn't. Search Fireteam, you'll find it on Steam, and wishlist it. Give it a wishlist. Should be out soon in early access, and yeah. While I'm waiting for questions, I'm just gonna open this window because it's damn hot. Hang on. There we go. Oh, good me. Okay. So the first question is from Alex L. Ryan, you know how to spawn AI with different faces, modify every time face because to import from MetaHuman the size is too big. So you want to randomize the appearance of the character, I assume, is what you're trying to say. So to modify and change the appearance of a character, especially randomly, you need to have some kind of mesh for each face or each part of the body that you want to be randomized. And when they spawn in, you would have them come in with that different randomization. So let me just bring in some assets that we can find here in the marketplace that I've got. I don't know why actually I have got. Hang on. What have I got? I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll bring in this guy. I'm just adding some files here, and so you have your character. So let's say you've got a blueprint class for character, and in here you'd have your mesh broken into pieces, and there will be childs of the parent mesh here because you want them to be following the same animations as it. So we'll add a skeletal mesh to this, and we'll do the head. Now, I'm not too sure what heads we've got. Hang on. Let me just bring this over here and take a look at what meshes we have here. Okay, well, let's do hair pieces. Okay, so hair and helmets. So I'm going to put this hair piece on here. Okay. So it looks like that. Okay. And let's actually give this guy a mesh as well. Do we have a body in here? Yeah. Okay. So we'll just bring him down. You may recognize him from Fire Team. And does this already have a socket? I think so. Yep, there you go. Okay, so we've got our head socket set up like so. So we've got different hairpiece here. Now to randomize it, you just have a variable in here, and it'll be like head accessories. And this would be an array of skeletal meshes. Skeletal mesh, and it'd be an array. And then you just compile that and add all your different meshes into here. So we go back to here, and I'm just going to add the different hair pieces into here. So just go add there. Hair bandana. Put in that one. Put in that one. Think I don't know what these are. Put some helmets in there. And one more. And I'll do that one as well. Okay, so I've got 11 different arrays in there. And then on the construction script, so this is fired off as soon as the thing is made in the game. Not when it's made active. When it's made active and it's running its code, that'd be begin play. Construction is when it's actually made and instantiated. So on the construction script here, we just drag out our head accessories, take out our skeletal mesh for the head, and we do set skeletal mesh. And you're looking for the one that is not this one. This one refers to the component that I've got here. We don't want that. What we want is the function set skeletal mesh, and you put that in there. and then you can just drag from this array and do random. Now the construction script also has a nice side effect in that every time you adjust or change your character, in this case in the world, it's actually going to call this construction script each time. So if I dragged him into the scene, okay, he's going to change his head or facial appearance based on a completely random pool. Okay, and the same can be done for like clothing as well, like that. And if you're doing metahuman, you should come with different pieces, so you should see different faces, different heads, and you just replace the head like this each time. But yeah, and there you go. That's all you do to randomize the generation of a character, in this case. Do whatever you like. Okay. Next question. Let's take a look at Eurexus Hornet. How would you do fall damage? I know there's kill Z, but how do you check distance fallen? So normally in games we don't do distance fallen, we do either time or speed of your fall. So I've actually done a video on this before, but let's go check that out anyway. We'll just go into the character blueprint, and in here we'll do fall damage. And fall damage you get from landed event. So when you land on something, you get a hit event, which from there, actually no, we don't want that. Sorry, from event landed, we want to take from there the velocity the character was going at when they landed, or the time it took for them to be landed. So let's say, for example, I don't know. What's it? There's a function called it's in character movement. Time. No. Air. No. Falling. Pretty certain there's a thing. That triggers. I can't recall what I did now. Well, I think what you can do on landed is you can get maybe the. I don't know when it fires this. We can just test it out here actually. Get velocity of the character and print that out. I can't remember how I did it before. But I've got a video on it, so you can check out the video that I made. It's a one-off video. Just search the channel for it, you'll find it. Yeah, so... Yeah, there you go, it does work. So, you can get the velocity of when you land. So, at the moment, I'm landing with a velocity of 429, roughly. Okay, but if I were to jump up higher... my number is going to go up to 1,121. So all you do is you work out what kind of velocity your character needs to be doing before you take damage, and you just check that velocity and do damage based on that number. Yeah, it's simple as that, really. Next question, La Ninja HD. Just one small thing. How is the hunt for the old shooter tutorial files going? Slow. I'll be looking tomorrow. I've got my old bag from my old work down there. I think I've got a passport drive where I did copy the files I did have onto it. I'm going to see if I can find it. If not, I'm going to have to do like the whole series again. But that's fine. I should really redo the shooting series anyway. Is there a way to mirror animations within UE, or do you have to do it externally? Good question. Never actually tested this, but it should be fine. We just go bring in an animation. Hold on. Oh no, we've got something here we can use. It'd be in. Yeah. So by mirror animation, do you mean mirror the bone animation? So if you're doing it with the right hand, you want to change it to the left hand. Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to just like flip it around completely so the gun is not in that hand but in that hand instead? Or like the arms are doing different thing there. Cause in here I think I may be wrong. There probably is a way of doing it. I just don't know for certain. I mean, what if we did... I don't see anything here that would do it. So, one crazy idea to try is take the root, add a key to it, and just pause that. Back to 0, add key, and inverse the scale of it. It's not going to work. No, it's going to turn it round. Let's turn the arms inside out. That'll turn it upside down. Find the damn thing. Yeah, upside down. The no doubt is I'm just not familiar with it, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look it up. I'm not great at animation. There's bits of it. There's quite a bit of it I don't know. Not enough of it, but there's a few things like this I'm not too sure about. But additive doesn't seem to be doing the trick, because this just turns it inside out. Usually you just scale it by -1 and it'll flip it. But if you want to flip the whole mesh around, you just scale that by -1 and that will flip. That's fine. Just not too sure about animations. I don't know. I'll look into it. Next question. Hi Sham. Next question. How to let's have a look who's got a good question we can answer. With UE5 you can. Oh, okay, cool. I haven't tried it in UE5. Mr. Tree Guy. Would it be possible to make it so that you go into new levels in UE4 conditions, balls, and save? Make it so that when you get into new levels in UE4, conditions and balls save. So you have to use a save file whenever you leave a level. You may notice this in games that you play. When you leave a level, the little save icon comes up. That's because that's what it's doing. It's saving the game to a file. So then when you go into the next level, it loads it in with that data. Now, saying that, if you want to transfer over a simple thing over, something very simple, like, for example, where the player should start, you can actually do that. And you can actually pass over other simple stuff too. But be wary of this, because it can be a bit problematic. So the main thing you'd want to use this for are things like... let's say you've got 2 versions of world in the same level. One is like normal, the other one is like evil or dark or on fire or something, and you want to load into the alternative one. You can actually pass through options into your game mode, so when you travel to the next level it brings those options across, and then you can do whatever you like with them. So to do that, you just, when you do open level by name or by object reference, you'll get this options thing here, and in here you just type in whatever it is that you want to do. So for example, I want to put in here like, let's just say alternate, or I'll say like dark world. Okay, so we do like Zelda style, go dark world for example, and if I open that level with the options in a game mode, I go to the game mode, you can open the full print editor, and then in here you can get the options that has come across. usually towards the bottom, I think. Yeah, option string. So that'll bring over that text you have. And if you use a combination of keys and values, you can actually throw a few in there. So I do this for like Fireteam, for example, to send over the map and the game mode, for example, and what I want to do with it. So option strings, we can send it over to it. So here we can pass this through a switch, for example, and switch between one load to the other. And you call this probably on the load of the actual level itself. So on override, it'll be on... it'd be probably on in its start spot, probably. There's a few places you could put it actually, but in its start spot will be fine. And you could do that there, or in begin play even. Just hide what you're doing behind a load screen, and then it'll load in a different level. So you can do stuff like that, but it's only for like big things. If you're storing different booleans and different variables like that, you want to use a save file. And if you want to know how to do save files, I'm not going to go through it here because it's lengthy, and I've got whole videos all about it. Do check out the videos about save files and loading and understanding it. But essentially you have a save object that you put all your variables into, and then you pull your variables out of. Next question is from TatVT. I love the content. It's been immensely helpful while learning to make my own games. I was wondering if you will ever continue the building series. So the building series, the full story of the building series was that it got to where it went, and then I got not stuck, but I wasn't happy with it because it was just running into a load of issues. It was something that I thought would be like a quick series. It turned into a massive thing. And I was like, I should really spend more time on devising this thing. So what I did was stopped it, and then I'm going to go back to it with a fresh take, a bit more organized, a bit cleaner, less bugs, to get like a better outcome to it. I wasn't happy with its outcome. It was something I was making off the cuff, which is something I want to try and do less of. I want to try and do less video series where I'm doing it off the cuff and more prepared. So I've made the whole entire thing first, and then I'm recording it. That way I've worked out the kinks and issues and got to a final product. So the building series will be trying to do something like that. George Alvida. Hey Ryan, how to share variables between two animation BPs? It's like I have two characters, human and animal, and everyone has its own anim BP. Interesting. Never had to do that one before. So the way I'd approach a problem like that is I've got to think about essentially, yeah, the way you get two blueprints to communicate to each other is that you need a common reference. You need a reference between them somehow. Now, how you do that is totally up to you. But let's say, for example, we're doing a companion sort of game. So I've got my character here, and this guy, he will be my companion, for example. And I need him, my character, to know about him, and vice versa. He needs to know about me. So on my character's blueprint, I would have in here companion, and I'd go and set that to a character class probably, and make that editable, and then do the same thing for him. So I'll go into there, and I'll say in this one master, for example, and that'll be a character again editable. And what you do is for each one you select down here default master. I'll choose this guy, and on this one I'll choose the other guy as the companion, so they know about each other. And that's the main thing. Once they know about each other, you can then do whatever you really want, because now I can get access to that information. So if I go to like this first person character here and go to this animation blueprint on here, I can go to the event graph in here and get that information from here. So for example, we can go into a new variable in here and do companion, and that'd be set to character. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but this is how you can do it. So you go to companion there, make that as a variable in here, and then on the this guy, the other blueprint, the NPC in this case, I just go to the event graph in here and on begin play, sorry, or whenever you want this to happen. On begin play, I would get the master here, get the animation instance of this, and of them, hold on, I'm gonna get that from there. Cast to our first person character, then get the animation instance from that. You have to get the correct mesh for the animation instance. So mesh 2p, and then do animation instance. Anim instance, sorry. Anim instance. There we go. And from there, I can then cast to that animation instance and get that variable. So cast to anim instance. No, cast to, what's it called? First person anim. First person anim BP. And then I can get that from there. So I can go from here and do set companion. And I can set that value onto here. Well, episode of itself. So now that animation blueprint has a reference to that component. And to test that out, I can just put on the end here, print string. And I'll do companion. And it's the same for the other way around. There you go. So I've got new blueprint, which is the name of this thing. Okay. So that is how you can reference those things. The main thing is that you get a link between the two. You need to somehow get a pointer to each other, and that's usually one way of doing it is by using variables that you can link directly to it. If it's something that you're spawning into the game, use the return value and store it as a variable so you can reference it later. Anything like that would work. Next question, Tom Reitner. Hi Ryan, I can't really understand input game mode UI only, UI and game and UI only. Okay, so for what is Tom referring to is, let's just go into our player character one. You have these three input modes. You have game only, game and UI only. By default, your game will start in game only. Now, game only, what that means is that all your inputs from your mouse, keyboard, gamepad, whatever, will go to the player controller first. And the player controller will then pass on to the pawn to do its job. Okay? It won't use that at all to send it over to widgets or anything like that. But if you want your widgets to be used, you need to change it to UI mode. Now, you've got two options. You can go to game and UI or UI only. What UI only does, it basically tells it to skip the player controller completely. So it's not going to go to the player controller, all your inputs. They're just going to go to whatever widget has focus. Now, if the widget has focus, that will receive your inputs and it will do whatever it is that you've set up to do on there. Game and UI is it will go to the player controller. So it will go to the pawn still and all that stuff. But the UI will also receive inputs too if it has focus. So, for example, one issue you will find when you go to game and UI, this is a common one I see, is I'll go to game and UI and suddenly the mouse will stop turning the characters. That's because your mouse is now being received as an input via the widget first and foremost. The mouse isn't actually part of the game. It's not being locked into the game. Whereas in game mode it is. So when you click on the screen, it will then be captured and then it will be moved with the character. So they're the three differences you'd have. So game only is if you want the player controller to react only to the pawn. So it goes through the player controller to the pawn. If you want it UI only, then what it's going to do is skip the player controller and go straight to widgets that have focus. And if it has game and UI, it will go to the player controller, but it can go to the widget as well from there, as well as the pawn. That's basically it. So typically, what you types of situations where you use each one is game only, obviously when you're in game. It's simple. UI only, reserved for mostly for the menus. So if you like the main menus, pause menus, things like that, we're going to skip to UI only. Now, game and UI would be useful for things that you have on the screen that you want to click and change as well. So things like RTS games and Civ games, things like that, where you have buttons on the screen that you want to click on as well. Very useful. You can take part in doing that. Things like World of Warcraft, for example, would use game and UI because you can move around still, control your pawn, but you can also click on the UI freely. One other thing you have to be wary of as well is because the player controller gets knocked out of action for UI only. If you had the tab key open the menu, you can't. If you go to then UI only, you can't use the tab key to close the menu again. Now there is a way around that, okay? But for the best part is not to use that method to open the menu, okay? You'd have the tab key open the menu, and then you have tab key on the menu itself close it down as well. But yeah, there you go. That's it. Next question, Blue Planet. Ryan, how big can a data table be in terms of bytes? For a data table like MMORPG, I could store 10,000 items in a data table. I don't think there's a limit in bytes. It's one of those things where the larger it is, the more performance it's going to take up and slower it will be to research for stuff. But it can be very, very large before you even start noticing that. So it shouldn't be a concern when you're using MMORPGs. There are alternative options you can use as well from apart from data tables to use for even more content. But like for example, data assets, you can use those. But data table you could store 10,000 probably quite easily. Yeah, it has to be very, very large for you to start noticing some issues probably. Well, I haven't tested, obviously, extremes of that. Next question. Evening, Ryan. How do you go from controlling a player to a vehicle? Okay, so a vehicle is just a pawn, basically. I want to make a very, very simple thing. We'll do a pawn. We'll call this one vehicle. And I'll give that a very simple mesh, like a cube, for example. And I'll give that a floating pawn movement. And in here, I'll give it the normal movement commands. So I'd go in here and do move forwards, add movement input, access value. And world direction will get, I'll put a camera on here actually. Spring arm. And put a camera on there. Like this, and move forward. We're going to get the actor forward vector and put that in there. Okay, I'm not going to bother returning. I'm literally skipping lots of stuff here. So you would have the movement stuff going on, whatever. But this is a pawn. So at the moment, your player controller is possessing your character. You need to then transfer the character movement over, pawn movement over to this one. So you have to transfer the possession over. So what we'll do is we'll make it so, let's do a hit event, for example. Okay. And we'll say if the other is equal to the player character. Oh, yeah. Chuck that in there. And then we'll tell, if that's true, we'll get the player controller. So the same could be done for input. So if we walked up to the thing and interacted with it, for example, we could do the exact same code to handle this. So you get player controller and you take it to possess this pawn. And then what I do is unpossess the previous one and possess this one. So in pawn will be self. And that's it. And what you could do is then hide the other one if you want. So it looks like it's in the car, whatever you like. But that should do it. So if I put this in here as my car, I can now control my car. Okay. So yeah, and that's it. And if you want to hide the previous character, you need to get hold of who hit it first. So that'd be this other actor here. Link that across. Set hidden in game. Oop. That's true. And then you can put like an animate or like turn collision off on it and then make it animate into the car if you like. Whatever. Then it'll get into the car and yeah. There you go. That's how you transfer movement. Same goes for horses or anything else you want to change control over. It's through possession. Okay. Victor NR, can you give more definition of what you want regarding 3D widgets? And I can probably answer you. Okay. Ahmet, how to make a master variable? Can you confirm what you mean by master variable? Do you mean the global variable? We're doing now. Philip Utkin. Hello Ryan, any ideas of how to create a physics driven character like in Gang Beasts, Human Fall Flat? Tried playing around with physical animation components, but it's mostly used for hit reaction cases. Correct. So it uses like most of them are using like procedural sort of animation and movement. So and with physics based gameplay, you're moving something across the scene. You'd as it's moving, you just make the legs wobble roughly where they got to go, but they will all be technically ragdolling. Or like you've got them attached to maybe like you can also do it with physics handles probably. I don't know, something worth experimenting with. But I would assume it's either procedural or you using physics handles and position the physics handles based on that, and they'll wobble towards the physics handle to get to that point. You're moving constraints and they're attached to that constraint. So I don't know if we can do a good example actually. Let's do. Hang on, I've got. Let me. Hang on, I've got an idea. If I can, I've got an idea for a crazy attempt here. Hold on. Let's do. Try to find animation I can use. That'd be good for this. I'll tell you what. We'll just use the. An idea how you would do it. One way of doing it. So I'd make a new blueprint class here, for example. Get character, and in here we'll have our mesh. Okay, so let's say for example we've got our trooper guy. Okay, so we'll just go. Trooper standalone. That'll do. It doesn't really matter too much. And then we put it down here. Now, obviously, you need them to be ragdolling, so they don't stay stiff like this. So to make it ragdoll, we just go down to the collision presets, and an easy one to do is just change it to ragdoll. Actually, one down here, ragdoll. Okay. So if we put out a scene, it should just flop to the floor first of all. Or not. Does it have physics on it? That might be an issue. Take a look. Oh yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, that should be fine. Oh wait, I've got to enable physics on it. Whoops. Wait, forget that bit. Right, simulate physics. There we go. So that should now just flop to the floor. Okay. So if I want him to be controlled by something, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to add another mesh to this thing. And this mesh is going to be basically the puppet. No, the puppeteer that's going to be puppeting this thing. So we just do mannequin. It doesn't really matter because we can make it invisible. Like so. So this will be the character that's trying to move and walk about and stuff like that. I'm going to give this an animation asset. And we do do like a walk or something. Jog, there we go. Jog forward. Okay, so doing this movement. So if I want that ragdoll to basically follow this roughly, I need to attach its points to something, attach its limbs to something. So how can we do that? We need to I mean, either that or IK maybe. So on here, need to make a physics constraint. Component name 1 going to be mesh. Component name 2 going to be skeletal mesh. With a constraint bone name 1, that'll be and L, and I want to be and L, and I want to constrain the hands. So hang on, what? The box around his hands is fine. Maybe this one hasn't got called. Hold on. And L, yeah, and L. Yeah, I'm not seeing. It's probably because it's called mesh, character mesh 0. Hang on. Mesh. Character mesh 0. I'll tell you what, I'll just do that. Character mesh. Right now. There you go. So we want to see these two things like linked up like this. Now they're going to the center, which is weird. I shouldn't be doing that. Oh wait, because that's the constraint. Hold on. I move the constraint to this hand here. If I actually moved it to skeletal mesh, I can actually attach it. And L. Like that. Okay. And if physics is enabled, hopefully that hand should be stuck on that. So I'm just going to make this mesh then invisible. Does this work? Oh dear. Wait. I'll make sure it hasn't got any collision on it. No collision. That's good. Okay. So why is this not working? Go to simulate. Okay. Right. Another thing we probably want to do is attach the hip to something as well, because we want to keep it basically stuck there. We'll take a scene component. Keep the hip there. Add another physics constraint to it. There's probably a better way of doing this, but this, on top of my head, this is what I would do. Component name 1 is skeletal Mesh. Component name 2 is scene. And that should lock their position at the hip there, hopefully. Yeah. Is it going down there? Turn on this one again so I can see where this is. Yeah, why is it down there? Did I get the wrong way around? I don't think it matters. The hand's moving. But why is it like well away from there? Matter if it's like in your air top. And it's not pinning it to the scene component either. Straight bone, do pelvis. Okay. And we'll do mesh. Oh, I had the wrong one set in there. Oh. Oh. I want character mesh. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. The hand just wants to be down there. Don't know. It's something I would have to play with. I'm not entirely sure. That looks like it should just want to go to there. I'll have to play with that one. I'm not too sure. Imagine something like that. To play around with. They would already climb the floor. That wasn't the issue. Because when I simulated it last time, it just flopped to the floor. That was fine. But for this, some reason, don't know. I'm gonna play with. Come up with. But if not, you can use IK movements as well to do things like that. We ain't got time to go through all that though. It's quite a lot to do. Next question. Emery is asking, hi Ryan, any handling floats in Unreal 5, for example, addition or subtraction, I have to constantly convert the float type. I think there are now 2 types of float, bug or permanent change. what it looks like is a permanent change. For whatever reasons they may have, I would say that's a permanent change. The two types I think you're seeing are, because I saw them the other day. What were they? One's like set to be real, which just means float again. Maybe let's use float and real interchangeably. They're the same sort of thing. So, Evan Westerman. How to make an AI character move to a hover pad from one nav mesh, move to another location via a hover pad, jump off onto another nav mesh. Okay. So that's going to heavily rely on smart nav links. I don't know if I have time to set up a whole AI thing. Oh, let's get fun. Can I do that quickly? Ultimately, so I don't think we have enough time because it's quite a lot of work. But you would have to have you obviously have the hover pad thing set up, but that hover pad will have a nav link on it, and the nav link will be a smart nav link. I'll be doing some videos on smart nav links at some point in the future, but when they enter that nav link, it sets off an event, which then you can pause their animation, you can pause their movement, and then make the hover mesh go up. And when it goes up, then they can continue their movement towards the other nav link. I would like to make it, but I don't know if we can do that. Well, okay, we'll try it. We'll go character and in here mannequin. Give it some default animation blueprint. And I'm not going to bother with like a clever behavior tree or anything like that, because to save time. So what I'm going to do instead is just give this a variable of a destination, for example. And destination will be a vector. On the event graph, we'll do a little delay for like 2 seconds, and then we'll do AI move to. So we use the default AI controller, default everything else, set to move this destination. Point to be self. The destination we want to be editable and show 3D widget. That way I can choose it in the world. But with destination, that will give us a relative position, not a world position. We need a world position. So to do that, you do transform location, and that turns it from local space to world space. So you just put that in there and put in the actor transform into here, and that will transform that into a world coordinate. Okay, so to test that out, if I just put a nav mesh in here, we still need one of those, and just put that across and up. Yep, and just put him in there. And its destination will now be a little diamond shape I can click on here, and I can move that out. Like so. And probably want to put that in on the floor. And tell it to then play. He should, there you go, move to it. Okay, that's what I want. Now, instead of obviously doing that, we want him to go up, say up here. Let's move him back a bit more. Put this up here. Now, when you've got it on a destination that it can't reach, because it's a different height, you get this issue where it tries its best to try and get to it, but it can't. Okay, so what we ideally want is a nav link. Now, a nav link is basically like a bridge between them, and it starts off when you drag it in as a simple nav link. And all you do is you drag these 2 points to be inside of the other nav meshes, so you can see the like little cylinders. drag them down, the touching near enough the other nav mesh, like that and like that. Okay, now this should theoretically want to go up there because that should be the shortest route. So let's hopefully see that work. Yeah, so he's now trying to use that nav link. So he thinks it's a bridge, but he can't because obviously there's a big old wall in the way. So we use a smart nav link to trigger when that happens. Now, to make a smart nav link work with code, you need to go and create a blueprint class, and you do smart, not smart, sorry, just do nav link. By the way, this is the same method you do for like climbing ladders, climbing of walls, jumping up walls, same thing. The smart nav link, and I'm just going to replace this one here with that one. Now, by default, it's going to look identical, which it is. It's simply the same thing. But this one's different in that I can add a blueprint code to it. So if I open this up, I can go into the graph, and I can go to event begin play here and set this up. So on begin play, not begin play, sorry, on functions override and do received smart link reached. So this will trigger when he's reached that smart link. Now, for now, I'll just do print string so you can see that this works. Okay, I'll just say hello when he reaches it. But what we want him to do is actually activate this smart link, because at the moment that won't do anything different. So what we're going to do in here is if you go to the link component over here, you will have no, sorry, class default. Sorry, my bad. Go to simple link, and we want, sorry, not simple. It's smart link. Tick smart link is relevant, and that might be it. I can't recall now. But we should hopefully see this in here. Now, there's a weird visual bug for this. When you activate smart link, you do see like a ghost version of it. Basically, you can't edit or change those, so ignore them. But it should say hello, hopefully, when he wants to. Let's try it again. What have I missed? Smart link is relevant. Then I'd have sworn that was it. Maybe there's something else I've forgotten. Copy endpoints to smart link just in case. Try that again. There you go. So I forgot to click copy simple links, because what we dragged out there were simple links. Click copy and it will copy them to the smart links. So it's this button here. Copy endpoints from simple link to smart link. So that will trigger that nav link there. So then we want something underneath him to lift him up. So we need to make an elevator, basically. So we can do actor, elevator. And in here, we're going to do a simple cube. Like so. Add a spline to it. Rotate that up. So, and we'll add also a box collision to this thing. Okay. So this cube, I want to interact with pawns, but I don't want it to mess about with the floor of the ground, because I'm not going to cut out a hole in the ground for it. So I'm just going to go down to its collision settings, customize it. Basically, I want it to ignore everything except for pawns. Just going to block pawns there. And we'll just put that in there for now. In there. Yep, there you go. There you go. And then we want the spline, move it up. So bring that down to where it's level, like that. Act to begin overlap. That vector is get class is child of a pawn. Then we want to activate this thing, so we make another event here. Plate, and in here zero zero. St 3 seconds to go value of 1 seconds there, and on the event graph we can then use this to travel this along the spline. So we're going to get spline, get location at distance along spline. At distance, it can be the spline length multiplied by the travel. Divided by the travel. So what it's doing there is it's normalizing it between 0 and 1. Spline length gets you a whole number. We don't worry about that. We just want this return value. And we want this to be, let's do world, and just do cube, set world location. Okay, and we just call that over here. So hopefully that works. Let's have a look. Okay. So if you want to make it look more natural, we'll stop his movement until he gets to the end of it. So on the elevator. On completed here, on finished, sorry, on start, we need to tell this pawn here to basically stop movement and ignore movement. Actually may need to cast to it rather than do this. Hang on. Cast to pawn. Actually, no, we'll do the AI one, new blueprint 2. It does it for AI. The player can still go on it and it'll still work for the player. Put that in there. That is true. Activate this. But we also want to tell it to stop moving. So on here we do stop movement, but keep current path. I think that one. Not entirely sure. Let's have a look. Right. No. Stop movement. Okay, and then when he reaches the top, I need to reactivate movement. So for that, we need to know who is the occupant. So when you're doing this, you need to promote this to a variable. So you know who is the occupant of said elevator. And on finished, you drag the occupant out and do set movement mode to walking. Finished. And hey presto, one moving elevator traveling a character up. It should. Damn it, walk. It should walk. Come on. What's going on? Walking. it should carry on to destination. Let me move it, man. Maybe that's resetting the path. So, like, I think AI move 2 is failing. If it says hello, that means we're failing the AI move 2. Yeah, it fails. So we don't want to fail it. We just want to take to stop moving. So what we can do is we can go and try doing set max walk speed to 0. And then do occupant set max walk. I'll have to get the movement first. Do back to 600. So technically it's still trying to walk, you just can't. So it should work. He hasn't. Right, he's hitting the nav mesh before he hits the elevator. Right, let's pull that out a little bit. Okay. So the range of the nav mesh is obviously taking up too much space. Move that over there a little bit. Why are you doing this? Oh, hold on. Right. It's begin overlap on all of it. We don't want that. So yeah, it's hitting this before it hits the nav link. So I need to move the nav link out. No, why are you not doing this? Simple cheat. Let's, because we're running out of time. A little delay on this. Or like half a second. Obviously, with more time, you can set up more accurately. But, oh, this should work. Why is this not working now? Did I take off the... I did. Silly mate, that probably doesn't need a delay now. I've got activate elevator turned off. Go! There we go. I've turned the elevator back on. There you go. Okay, one working elevator for your AI in your game. And it works the same for ladders, jumping up as well. You just make them go to a ladder, do the ladder animation, and do the code for climbing ladders up, and that's it. How are we doing for time? We'll do one more question. Hopefully, let's take a look. So actually, we've got a question here. Native Black, what's the next month that is open for one-to-one sessions? I think March is full, but there are still April session slots open. So just email me at support@ryana.com. And yeah. Yeah, RJ, that'd be quite a good one to do, yeah. Question from Michael Fuller. Hi Ryan, I was curious what tips you have to organising your code. Is that something that comes with experience or time? I just find it frustrating having to redo work because I didn't do it right first. Yes, the time does and experience does help a lot. Especially when you work for other companies, you get to follow their workflows and their ways of organizing stuff. It helps. There's a few things I do personally for my own projects that I try to do. So, for example, obviously none of this you see on live streams like this because I'm doing it fast. But for example, I would make maybe different event graphs. So I've got an event graph for all the movement and capability stuff. I've got one that's doing for combat, another one for interactions, maybe, I don't know. And I'll separate things like that, and they're all being commented, so I'd set up big comments around them things. So doing this, my comment, and I'd also probably make this larger as well. You can turn on the show bubble, but I don't like the look of that personally, so I'll turn them up quite large, like 100. And I'll usually color code it as well sometimes, help me organize it even further. And if there's something I need to fix, I'll then also color code things as well and come back to later, or leave notes for myself or leave notes for someone else. I can leave notes for people on any node. I'll just go up to here and click on this delay, for example, and just write something in here. Bug doesn't work as expected. Okay, so I've got a little note there I can leave for people and say like, hey, there's a note there, you can do whatever you want with it. So on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do. You can even collapse them. There's so many different ways to organize your code. You can collapse stuff. I personally as well, you may have seen on my videos that I would typically make the white line, the execute line, as straight as possible, like this, so it makes it easier to read, like I'm reading a book, left to right. I see people do it all over the place. It makes it really hard to read and follow. I like reading it like a book, so I read left to right, and so I do each node like that. And it also helps to show the flow a bit better as well. I try to keep things as straight and lined up as possible. The only time I'll deviate from that straight line is if I do a branch, I'll do a fork in the road, and I'll do a fork going up like that. That may be the time I deviate, but generally that's what I would do. I usually keep everything that's the main line stuff in a straight line if I can, or use sequences to break up even if I need to. Anything that makes it easier to read. I don't like reading big long bits of code and not knowing what they do and where they go. I much rather see small snippets and go from there. Last question, Die Hard games, how do you make Survivor Sense like they did in Dying Light 2? I haven't played Dying Light 2 and I haven't seen Survivor Sense, but judging by the name of it, I imagine it's like you hit a button and the screen changes so you can see stuff in the world. So that involves post-processing mostly, and using stencils to highlight items in the environment. These could be characters that you highlight, for example, do X-ray sort of stenciling. Obviously, a lot of work that I can do right now in 5 minutes, but essentially that's what it is, okay? But do check out anything to do with stenciling, post-processing, things like that to get started. We'll try and do some more stuff in post-processing, hopefully. But I want to get through some more Niagara stuff first before I do a lot more stuff like that. But yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed it and saw something interesting and learnt at least one little thing. If you like my content and want to see more of my videos, you can head over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where your donations will get you access to early access to video content, polling, access to Discord chat channels, early access to all my content, including like game demos and betas and things like that, and any other rewards I can throw your way. The website at the moment, ryanlaley.com, is going through a massive overhaul at the moment to be more useful for you. So better organization of like courses and series, so you can go on there and just follow courses. You can even track how your progress through a course, even so you can tick off videos that you've done, and answer and submit your solutions to questions in there too. So it's a whole thing that you're going to be on there, be able to do. So it'll be really nice little thing to set up there. So but unfortunately you have to be patient. I have to work on that at my own time, so we'll see how it goes. But it should be quite cool when finished. Other than that, there's lots of other cool exciting things coming up over the next month. We just wrapped up our recent live class series where we've done a live class over on website lytle.co. which was all right. It went quite well. But we're going to be doing something slightly different next time. We're going to do a one-off special. So it'd be like probably double the length, so 2 hours long live stream, which you can sign up to and join me live as we go through a particular topic live in that class there. But more on that when we get to that. So look out for those announcements there as well. Make sure you've signed up to my Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, so you can get notified for all new announcements and releases. Speaking of releases, Fireteam is coming out very, very soon. You've got Fireteam is a first-person shooter online game that is completely free to play. You don't have to spend a single penny in it, and it's not only a gift from me to you, but also I'll be showing you how to make it. So look forward to videos on that coming very, very soon. In April, okay? So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening. Get some rest, and I'll see you all later. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.